Hey, so welcome everybody. Thank you for making it here on a rainy and traffic-filled day here in Seattle. My name is David Johnson. I'm the chair. I think everybody I've met here at one point or another. So we're here to talk a little bit about, we as Libertarians often are kind of talk a lot about our own issues and our own interests and stuff. Part of what we need to get involved in the community in general is to branch out, to understand other groups, to understand the community. I try to push for a lot of that stuff. We've talked about justice reform, we've talked about a lot of housing issues and things like that. I'm excited about what's been happening in Seattle in terms of really bringing up new players and new people to the table, talking in ways that we hadn't before around the head tax issue. And so with that in mind, I invited TJ Riordan, who's the vice president of the local Plumbers and Pipefitters, to come and talk with us. For those of you who didn't follow the news on the head tax or can't remember because that was like 1 month ago, which is forever in Seattle politics it seems these days, they were out against the head tax because it was going to hurt a lot of their employment, because there's a lot of building going on that revolves around continuing to grow the city. And so there were actually unions on both sides of the debate, and so I think it's important for us as a party to be informed that unions isn't just a word, that they're people, they're different groups, and to understand the nuance around that issue, and to be able to share that with others, especially in a day of reflexive politics where people like to take a word and say union's bad, union's good, whatever. I think it's important to have honest conversations and and learn about one another. So with that, TJ, it's your show.
Well, David, thank you. I kind of found out about the Libertarian Party just by making some comments on Facebook, following it. A little bit of history for me. I've never been a member of Republican Party, Democratic Party, any political party whatsoever. I've always read the issues and voted my conscience, plain and simple. The working history, union history, first experience with unions, well, I'm third generation one side of the family, second the other. I grew up at a blue collar dinner table. Had grandpa that was a Teamster, great uncles that at one point in time owned one of the largest contractors in the West Coast, Mass Art Construction, years ago. My dad has been a 50-plus year member of Local 32. It was in my blood to eventually find my way to blue-collar working class. Been there ever since. For me, it's been a great career. There is the negative connotation that comes with unions. A lot of it's weird. There's the socialism aspect to it. There's the laziness aspect to it. I mean, we do collectively argue as one loud voice, and we have, we fight for working rights, we fight for wages, we fight for conditions. But at the same time, it's not a fight. We have a great group of contractors that we negotiate our labor management agreements with. They can get heated at times, but in the end, we always come together, and it's a joint agreement that both parties are happy with. It's a great family wage career. Personally, it's not like the service industry. There are service employees unions and things like that, public sector unions. If I don't do my job, I don't go home and sit on paid administrative leave. I get laid off, and I sit at home and collect unemployment until I go back to work, or I work off my savings. A little different of opinion in some sense when it comes to unions on the public sector. It's good and it's bad because of that reason. There's more red tape when it comes to letting someone go. I witnessed that firsthand when my daughter was in kindergarten with a teacher in the Seattle Public School District. There were 9 families that left one of the Seattle schools before the first week of school. That teacher was placed on administrative leave for the entire year and was teaching the second year for the next year. To me, that's not how a union works. That's not the exposure I've had to a union. As David said, we got out in front of this head tax thing. You typically are local 32. We stay out of the social issues. We stay out of it because we have all walks of life within our union. We have Libertarians in there, we have Republicans in there, we have Democrats in there, we have Socialists in there. In order to kind of maintain continuity, we stay out of the social issues. We go after the issues that affect jobs. Well, the head tax affected jobs. And we got out in front and center with it with Ironworkers Local 86. I believe the carpenters were out there as well, and the painters, sheet metal workers were out there. Yeah, Amazon played the bully card, and they took away Block 17, which was 450 construction jobs, and they took away, or potentially took away the build out for Rainier Square, which actually that affects me. I'm working on the design for that right now. So that there affects my ability to care for my family and provide. So that's where we got all out, and then we hear Councilmember Mosqueda and Councilmember Gonzalez say, well, we're going to create jobs. We're going to create, you know, we're going to build 2,000 units of affordable housing. And Howard and I were just talking. Howard's one of our organizers down at the local. He knows Matt and came up here tonight to moral support for me. We got to talking, and those buildings that they're talking, those apartment buildings, you can see them going in and around town. Typically 2 stories of concrete, 5 stories of wood construction, maybe at the most 80 construction workers on there. So 5 jobs, that's 400 workers. Well, you just lost 450. You know, they ignored labor, they ignored the working class. And the one thing that the unions do provide is apprenticeship programs. I'd served a 5-year apprenticeship program, 10,000 hours on the job in the field training, over 1,200 in classroom hours. I have a state certificate from the state of Washington. To me, I put it right up there next to a degree from the University of Washington or WSU. It came straight from the state. That's a state-sponsored, state-funded, state-regulated program. We can provide good family wage jobs. I think our first-year apprentice, I don't know if you know this, Howard, I think a first-year apprentice is at $30 an hour almost, with wages, benefits, pensions.
The lowest paid person in our local is a residential helper, and they're making a $27 an hour package or $54,000 a year. That's walking in off the street with absolutely no training skills or anything.
No.
That's the lowest person in our local.
Plus 2 pensions and health and welfare that is unbelievable. Plus a group that has your back when you need it. I've personally been on the receiving end of what we do as a group. A few years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, I was faced with an illness and almost lost my life, and our local rallied behind me, handed my family $4,000. I mean, we can take care of our own in that sense. You know, Boeing has given a bad image to unions with all the striking that they do, with, you know, the lazy bee, as it was always called. Again, that's not where we're at. We go out there, and it's the mantra that we've all been taught is 8 hours paid for 8 hours work. And that's where a lot of the building and construction trades are at. We all kind of have that mantra. We're separate from the SEIU, and a lot of the unions that you saw out against the head tax, I would argue, are 10 to 20 years ahead of the unions that were supporting the head tax. Our collective bargaining agreements are that far in advance of those. And a lot of those unions, yes, they've got numbers. And I saw something today, it looked like the SEIU donated about $70,000 alone to the head tax. I mean, I don't think we've ever done a number like that. I think we maybe do a campaign of maybe 1,000 if that, but they're a numbers-driven union. They just want their dues, and they want to play in the political realm. We get in the political realm when it affects us individually, and it affects jobs and growth and things like that. Electricians have the same sort of apprenticeship program as us. I think theirs is 8,000, and theirs is more regulated by the state with the PLO1 licensing. It just depends on where you go. But again, it's family wage jobs that the city council attacked, and that's what got us out there. And they can say all they want that they're trying to create jobs, but they were attacked. Plain and simple. I don't know how much exposure anybody's had to unions in the room. Just raise a hand. Anybody, any experience whatsoever?
My brother's my brother's an electrician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shop steward.
Shop steward. Okay. Yeah. See, I've been a shop steward for Plumbers. I'm the vice president, and for me.
My family.
Okay. I'm a volunteer position. Howard knows the amount of time I put in down there. We're elected, but yet we put in our own time. I come down there volunteer amount of time, 2 or 3 days a week or more, just to give back, just to help the direction of our local. So there's a lot of a lot of the information floating around about unions. There's good, there's bad. And a lot of it, you just hear that word union, and I know a lot of people that cringe. A friend of mine's dad is immigrated here from Hungary, And for him, unions, it's pure socialism, it's pure communism, it's just, you know, it's all that. And yeah, we collectively bargain for the greater good. We pay our dues. But I see that the dues, we pay a monthly due, which is $37.25 a month, and then we pay a 1.35% assessment on our check. But that, for a lot of us, is the cost of doing business. It keeps our officers running, it keeps the lights on, I mean, it pays all of our bills. Puts money in the bank, saves some time. You know, we just built a brand new building, about $8 million total. We funded it ourselves. It's going to be paid off next year. We're one of the stronger, more financially sound unions in the area. That's a testament to what we've done over the last 128 years now. 2020 is 130. Jump in anytime if there's anything you want to say about it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've come to learn, so I've been a plumber all my life, and I actually was Matt's plumber. I've known Matt personally for years, but I've done his work, and he's fed my family. And so I've worked on all aspects of the trade, being a residential open shop plumber, owning my own open shop business, being a union plumber, owning a union business. So I've done all sides of it. And really what I've come to understand is that working for me as a union plumber is really the best deal, because in the work that we do, nobody's going to take care of you unless you take care of yourself, unless you're part of the union. And the reality is we do a type of work that breaks people down. And when it's all said and done, our bodies give up, you know, because we're doing it. And so the union allows people like myself an opportunity to have things so I'm not a burden to the greater good. The other thing that I also know is that as I've taken this job for the last year and 3 months, I tell people I'm with the union and they have a million different perceptions, right? And they immediately go, well, I worked with one guy and he told me this about this time when he tried to do this, and that's my perception of the union. And it's like, okay, well, that was some guy 10 years ago, with someone who's not even in power. So what I strive to do as a union organizer is I talk to contractors and I talk to plumbers, and I ask them, what do you know? What are your thoughts? What myths can I debunk? Because it's really about that. And you know, we don't succeed as a union if our contractors don't succeed. If they're not making money, it's not good for us, right? The concept of having slow working guys that are lazy and uber methodical, it doesn't work.
No, there's a fine line between being uber methodical and, you know, fourth or fifth gear, and you have to find that. And if you're not productive, then you're not going to. You may work, but you're not going to work a full year. I mean, it's just right now they need a heartbeat on jobs, and there's so many construction jobs in this town right now that are unfilled, and that's where I didn't mean to cut you off, Howard. That's where our business manager, he's the head of our union, sent a letter to all the council members individually, basically saying there's a way that you can help get people into jobs and into careers, and a lot of it stems with some of some laws that they could do to prefabricated, like these apartments that they do. They just come in and drop them and plug and play, make some connections, electrical, plumbing, whatnot, and move on to the next. If they made regulations to have those built in the city or the state or the municipality where they're going to be placed, you can create a lot of jobs that way and give a lot of people an opportunity to get off the street and get a career going. That was one of the, any prefabrication, that have it built in the area where it's going to be installed, type of thing. I don't know if that's contradictory to the Libertarian Party or not, but it's one of the ideas that we as a union had, was how do we reach out, how do we get people that need a helping hand, that want to work off the street, get them a job, get them a career, an apprenticeship, get them out as a pre-apprentice, help them with any math skills that they may need. Just the shortfall of labor, there's a ton of things that labor across the board, whether it's the plumbers and pipefitters or the electricians or the sheet metal workers, could do to create family wage jobs that, yeah, you might not necessarily be able to live in the city of Seattle, But as the way Seattle goes, the King County goes, Snohomish County goes, Pierce County goes, Local 26, which is the other local union, Plumbers and Pipefitters union here on the west side of Washington, just negotiated their contract, and they cover basically anything on western Washington, outside of King County, and a little bit on the peninsula up there. They just down the Longview, yeah. They negotiated $17.25 over 6 years. And it's basically, it's driven cost of living driven. So for those areas, I mean, that's a very decent increase for them. And again, if you're gonna work, most of the work is in Seattle. Tacoma, with what they're doing down there, I think is gonna be the next hot spot. They're lax their building laws down there. They're gonna be able to go higher, a whole bunch. They're giving people $275 to come down there. There's a ton of work in the area, so you might not be able to live in Seattle, but a lot of us commute. Like Howard's down in Enumclaw up here right now. I've driven from Ballard to South Kent for 5 years to go to work. You know, I've driven from here to Concrete, Washington. I did a job over in Bridgeport, Washington. It's just, you know, you might not be able to live in Seattle, but you're going to reap the benefit of having the construction here in Seattle. And there's a lot that can be done in that avenue. Push it back to you, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So one of the things that I've also learned in my time representing the union to people and plumbers and contractors is that my management has a position of mutual respect. And there used to always be this thought of unions where you have like the strong arm and kind of Guido guy telling you how it's going to be. And to say that's not how it is in part of the country would be false. Right? But that's not how it is for us. Right? Locally, Local 32. So the thing you got to remember, when you hear that word union,
there's variations of it.
Every union, every local is a different entity into itself, right? We govern ourselves. We have our own rules. We have our own officers. We deal with it. We have a kind of a greater administration that we answer to, but we're still autonomous.
Yeah, in some sense, it is. We do have somewhat of our own sovereignty versus, you know, the international head back in DC. I mean, we're out here, and the one thing is the more money and the more influence you have, the more you're almost a threat to them. But we kind of handle our business, and we do try to keep the international out of here as much as possible. We want to make our own working conditions, our own working rules. We don't want to have the international here telling us you're going to do it this way. We stay within the context of our bylaws across the board, but we handle our business within inside our walls and within our jurisdiction ourselves as best we can.
And how they handle their business down in Tacoma or up in Burlington, I can't speak to that.
No.
I would be wrong to try to.
Yes.
Right? You know, we just speak for our local and our management. And I tell you, they're some of the smartest, most caring guys that I've ever dealt with. I'm just amazed at how clear of thinkers they are as far as what they want to do and how they do it. We're out actively within our local trying to recraft the state laws for plumbing and health. Plumbers are certified within the state, and their hours are certified by the contractors they're working for. And there's a process that's set in place now that's from the 70s that doesn't work. And there's a whole army of plumbers out there that are doing work every day, but they're not getting credit for it in the eyes of the state. And we're trying to fix that. But we're not just trying to fix it alone. We've reached out, our management has reached out to the Plumbing and Heating Cooling Contractors Association, which is a non-union entity, and we're working hand in hand with them. We're meeting every 2 weeks to craft this legislation together. Because it's not about us and it's not about them. It's about all of us.
Some of the ads, I think, that were on the radio regarding, and I think some of the TV spots about licensed plumbers and whatnot, making sure, so that was put together by our union and the non-union or non-signatory contractors groups, because they recognize there's a problem there, but it benefits both industries. So let's come together, work together, and get information out there to the public. So it's a way that you see both sides working together for a common good.
When you say non-signatory contractors, are these contractors that are hiring non-union plumbers?
Yeah, non-union. Yeah, I've learned over the years to use non-signatory, because people say non-union, and like Howard said, union can have a visceral response to it the minute you say that word. So It's like rather than saying someone's non-union, I've started saying they're non-signatory, meaning they're not signatory to a local union or to a collective bargaining agreement, same with a contractor, same with the worker.
So one of the differences, when you're a non-signatory contractor, you have employees and they're at-will employees. You can hire and fire them at will. When you're a signatory contractor, you're bound by the collective bargaining of our officers with that contractor. And the rules and conditions of your employment are set out in a contract.
So are there community standard laws that exist now that apply to the non-signatory contractors for plumbers?
For the state,
There's codes.
you'll have the state code.
Yeah, there are wax on it.
So I'm a low voltage electrician.
Okay.
So there's, NEC, which is the National Electrical Code. And there's also RCWs and WACs that apply to the trade. So that's set by the state and.
You've got the Uniform Plumbing Code, you've got the RCWs, the wax.
But I mean, as far as like pay, they're not.
No, there's not.
Not at all.
No, you could be working for, and I don't even know if this is a real contract or not, but Acme Plumbing over here making $15 an hour. Well, Bravo Plumbing over here just offered me 30. Bye, I'm going over here. But then you might get fired from them and have to go down to Zebra Plumbing, and they're only going to pay you 20.
Right.
So it's based on, you negotiate based on your own skill set, you negotiate based on your licensing, and as Howard was saying, a lot of the contractors won't, or they set it up to where you can't get your hours, your accredited hours signed off, so you can't get that license. They keep you at a lesser rate to just basically keep the thumb down on you, whereas we have it set up where you have to have those licensing. This is the minimum pay that you can accept. Personally, you can negotiate above and beyond that low base. Whatever the contractor wants to pay you above here, go for it, get what you can. But this is our minimum. But out there, outside the non-signatory world, it's fair game. I don't know if the $15 an hour even applies to that.
I've organized guys that are making just a little over that,
Yeah.
and they're 4 or 5 years in the crowd.
So they should, at that point in time, they should be at 40 plus, 50, if they have their license.
Yeah.
and whatnot.
And the other thing that you need to know about our union, and whether, is that we take care of our workers, right? So we represent manpower. That's the only thing we do. We sell labor. And we supply labor to our signatory contractors, of which there's like 200 and some odd contractors, and they get all their manpower from us. But we train that manpower, so we give them a skilled workforce that's going to be able to go out there at the drop of a hat and take care of the tasks they need done to a standard that they expect, right? And for that, our workers get more than a livable wage. They get numerous pensions, defined benefit pensions like the old school, get a check every month kind of pensions, and they get a 401B. And these are all 100% driven by our contractors. They pay that. There's no matching where if you put this much in, they'll match. It's all 100% driven by the contractors. And then they get health insurance for them and their entire families, covered at 100% in our local. And it's a really big deal as I go out there and I talk to people, because health insurance is a scary subject, Like, what if you get sick? You could lose everything you have because you have no health insurance.
I think for me, my deductible, I've got 2 kids, it's $300 per person. I think the max is $900 per family. That's your out of pocket, and then if you stay within the plan, you're covered at 80%.
Does the insurance come from the contractors or from the union?
That's we're within our own negotiated group. We're part of a larger group, but it's through Aetna who we're covered through. But there's multiple belly buttons in the plan. I don't know the exact number. 7,500, I think, within our local itself. That's just local 32, and that's all the retired members, all our active members, all their dependents and whatnot. So the retired guys actually pay a little bit less. They pay 50%, or depending on when they retire. But we subsidize the retired guys because they put their time in, and this way they have a fixed cost in the retired years. At least they know what they're saving, what they're stuck at. So.
And they actually lock it after you retire, 3 years after that, they lock the cost of it, so it will not change on it. So, it's a good deal. I mean, I've worked for plumbing shops where I worked side by side with people who were family members, and raises came around and everybody got raises. And one time I worked for the shop, they gave me a 10-cent raise. And I just noticed that my paycheck was just a little bit off. And I had to go grovel to the boss like, something's wrong here, it just isn't right. And he said, oh no, we gave you a raise, a 10-cent raise. And I literally just thought, like, that's $4 a week. right? And I'm working as hard as everybody else. So the beauty of being a represented worker in a union is my raises and my pay structure and my increases in my pay are negotiated. I don't have to go to my boss. I have representation when there's a conflict within a job site concerning safety issues or tools or anything that I have representation. I have a series of representation.
And on the other side of that too, when it comes down to disciplinary action, there's set guidelines that have been negotiated between the contractor and us as a union. So when it comes to drug testing, that's an agreed program that we've sat down, negotiated, and agreed to on both sides of the party. So there are no surprises there. Our training is done in coalition with our contractor group. It's a trust. So we have, I think the electricians are the same way, sheet metal workers are the same way. We have an equal trust of labor and management that oversee our entire training. So our contractors actually take an active role in our training because, again, if they can help train the best mechanics, well, in theory, we're all equal, but if they can train the best mechanics, then they're gonna be able to go out, they're gonna be able to bid jobs more competitively, get them done on time, pay us a livable wage, line their pockets, you know, and everybody is happy in that sense. And that goes back to where the head tax was at with, you know, the large businesses, the large developers. Let them do what they want to do in Seattle because the trickle down is going to be there with the jobs that are going to come on, good family wage jobs, entry level jobs. There's so much that I think our misguided council just chose to ignore. Yeah.
I assume your contract specifies a just cause standard?
Oh, we have our standards of excellence, and I can't remember the exact points, but within there, yeah, we have our standards of excellence that we as workers promise to uphold to the contractors, and then the contractors have their, I think it's 15 points or so, that they're uphold to us. Any one of those reasons in there, you can written up, fired. I mean, you're there. They'll call the local union. They'll come out. They'll do a full investigation. And if you're wrong, they'll remove you from the job site. Yeah, we have a high standard of excellence that we expect each and every one of our members to exude on a job site, but then at the same time, we expect that back from our contract. And it's, they absolutely 100% agree to those terms.
So it takes a violation of one of those terms to trigger disciplinary action rather than,
correct,
you know, at will.
Correct, yes, yeah, so you can, I mean, there's usually a verbal, there's usually a written, and then after that point, it's termination. And you can be terminated for cause. If you're terminated for cause more than twice, I believe, I don't know if we changed this or not, you have to come into our executive board and face the music as to why you can't keep a job. And then we'll either, if it's training, then we'll figure out a way to get you training. If it's, you're failing drug tests, we do have our employee assistance program that we'll refer them to. It's not just if you get terminated, you're out the door. I mean, it takes a huge thing to get kicked out of the union. I mean, we've had some last chance. I mean, through my apprenticeship, I lost, well, actually it was an apprentice, so it really is you're kind of in a vague spot as an apprentice. You can't be terminated for any point in time for your apprenticeship if you, whatsoever. I lost 3 guys out of my apprenticeship in one night, 20% of my class, because they all went to 3 different contractors in a row and failed the same drug tests. So they went, you're done. And one of the contractors said we were hiring no one else out of that class unless they previously worked for us. Well, luckily enough I'd worked for them, but the other 12 of us in that class said, you have now cost us potential jobs, you know. So we, not only did the union come down on them, but we all kind of came down on each other saying, hey, knock it off here. You know, our class now has a bad reputation because we can't pass drug tests. So, you know, that's not something I want stuck in my name the rest of my career. You know, that's the one thing. We do have contractors that don't drug test, and there's a list of them, and our business manager's made very clear. He goes, if you want to go to work for one of those, I will gladly give you that name and that contract. But we do have our standards of excellence that we uphold, and we expect the same out of the contractor. Same, you know, if they're doing something with it, you know, violates that, that's where our representation will go out and have that sit down and try to get that correct.
Another question. Yeah. Who administers the pension? Is that the locals or is it the national?
We have a third party. We do have a national pension, so that's overseen. So we've got the 3 pensions we have is our national Plumbers and Pipefitters pension. We have a Washington State pension, and then we have our 401k. The 401k, we kind of control that ourselves. We can shuffle money around here and there. The Washington State's overseen by a third-party administrator. Then the national is overseen by our international administrator.
Okay, so, who's responsible for the financial condition of
The international will be responsible for that. They are, I think, currently 76% funded, so they got to figure out some stuff there. On the
Yeah.
state level, we're over 100% funded. We've managed that very well. And then the 401k, that's kind of your own business there. And there's ways that you can withdraw that money out of the 401k if you need to. You can withdraw any self-contributions, or it's age 55, out of work for 6 months, or retirement. So there's a way that you can make that out if you need to.
Yeah, I find that generally in Washington State, pensions are pretty well funded, pretty well managed, but national level,
Yeah,
there's
we
some
made
real problems
we
cooking
made
out
a
of.
big change to ours here this last negotiations. Like, we actually had our contract expired May 31st last year, and I was actually able, by the nature of my position, sit through our contract negotiations for the first time, which was very eye-opening. And we changed how we fund our Washington State pension plan moving forward. It's a sustainable income plan. It's what a SIP plan, sustainable income plan. And basically, it's, how did Jeff word this? It's under promise and over deliver. It's basically the crux behind it. As the market increases, or so we have it's based on 4% accrual. If we end up with a 5% or 6%, our benefit actually increases that year. So we actually get an increase in pension benefit throughout retirement.
Up to the cap.
Up to a cap, yes.
And then if it goes beyond the cap, it goes into a rainy day fund to.
Correct. So if for some reason we make 2%, they take out the rainy day fund to build back up to that 4 or 5%, so you never lose your pension credit. So we're actually pushing some money away into a rainy day fund. Correct me if I'm wrong, we're the only ones out here that have done it.
I think so.
And so it was a heated battle to do this, but if you look at it, I mean, it's a way that now they can almost guarantee our pension down the road when we go to retire. Because if in theory, if all things are met, we will have that defined benefit.
And then at the national level, if I'm not mistaken, the federal government's pension benefit guarantee board
Yeah,
backs up your at the national level.
that's only like 45 or 50%, if I'm correct on that.
It varies, but it always sucks.
Yeah, there's one, and I don't know the name of the pension plan, you know, Howard, the one back in the Midwest,
I don't know.
that if that fails, it will ruin it, that fund will be gone. They
Right.
will lose their
Yeah,
entire pension.
Yeah, that's a ticking time bomb.
It is, and we are at 76% funded, so I think we're almost to yellow right now, and I'm sure that they're gonna be knocking on our door. It's gonna be, hey, there's gonna be a contribution that we have to make to get it back up, but for no benefit gain,
Yeah,
type of thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that I could speak to is, in the different contracts that we negotiate with our contractors for different types of work, and our light commercial work, which is the 2-story retail with 5-story wood structure above it, they have taken that national pension out of that agreement because they want to be able to control the destiny of that pension. And they just felt that that wasn't advantageous to that contract.
That market is a little more volatile when it comes to that pension itself. Yeah, I mean, you look at the national average, I think, on our international age for the United Association of Plumbers and Pipefitters, I believe it's 47. I don't think it's come down. I believe that's the national age, so they're gonna be faced with a large number of retirees here soon, and there's gonna be a huge drain on that fund. Personally, I'm not planning on it being there when I go to retire.
Really?
I think it will be, but I'm doing things on my own to ensure that when the time comes for me to not work anymore, that I'll be taken care of. But I mean, I look at, you know, my dad who retired here, he's been retired 10+ years. He's fine, he'll be all right, but I'm worried about my next 20, 25 years. Is that gonna be there when I go to retire? I'd rather take the money that we're personally, that we're putting into it, bury it in my backyard, so at least I know I got it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
So all your contractors are like, they voluntarily enter a contract with the local to use union labor,
Yeah.
right? So if, like, in some states, they have right to work laws, right? Where my understanding of that is you can't have compulsory union membership. If Washington were to pass something like that, and I don't see that happening, would that, I mean, what's your understanding of how that would affect you, if at all? I mean, would you still be able to contract with contractors to only use union labor?
So, my understanding
Better on that one, yeah.
on right to work is that the union has to represent any worker, whether they pay dues or not, into our union. And the concept is that when you have a pool of workers and part of them are not paying dues, they're taking home more money than the other workers. And then the other workers want the same deal. And so they stop paying. And in the end, the union office, the money that we use to operate our business, gets diminished and diminished and diminished. And as we can't represent safety concerns and negotiate our contracts with our workers, all the wages will drop. So it is a real threat to unionism as a whole, right to work. You know, kind of the joke and the phrase that I've heard is, it's right to work for less. That's kind of how it is. And I was in New Orleans a couple months ago, and I was talking to the locals there, and it's a right to work state. And I said, well, how do you keep your members paying dues? They go, we just don't tell them. And that was their strategy, we just don't tell them. But they don't have to pay dues. And if they don't figure it out, they don't figure it out.
But if they don't pay dues, they don't get the retirement benefits or anything like that, the pensions, is that correct?
No, they do.
They would. They'd work under the entire contract without paying dues. They would get all the benefits of it.
All right,
Sure,
yeah,
our membership is, we all know that we all have to take care of our operating costs and pay for, as the phrase is, pay for our brick in the building. Our membership's pretty good about it. I mean, they understand that's a cost doing business, and we used to be able to take it off on our taxes. I don't know if we can now or not with the tax law we just went through. I'd have to check on that one. But I used to write all that off. Everything that I donate as union dues is my cost of going to work. I write that off every single year. It's about $4 grand a year. It's really, to me, that's a cost of doing business. If I got to pay $4 grand a year and I'm going to make 120 plus my retirements plus my benefits, that's just the cost of doing business for me. I'm getting a good ROI on that. Plus, I grew up with it. I'm different in that sense, where I grew up at that table. I grew up, you know, the lean years where my dad had his own shop for a few years, so I'm in a unique position there where I saw him scrimp and scraped it, and he was a union contractor. You know, to where they bad business decisions, and he ended up owing 60 grand to the IRS for years, and finally got that paid off. And now, you know, then he went back to work for the contractor. And just all those conversations in and out at the dinner table, I remember, it's always just been, this is just what I have to do. It's never been an option not to. And I think most of our members that we get through, and people that have no affiliation or no experience with the union come through our door, they gladly, you know, this is great, yeah, this is what it costs, great, fine, you know, this is the best I've ever had it. Especially when they start looking at the retirements and the health benefits and things like that we can offer. Yeah.
On that note, I worked for the Regional Truckers Council for a while, and they're operating, this few years ago, as though it were a right-to-work state. They have contracts saying that the contractor will use union labor on some, depending on who their client is. Sometimes they want it, sometimes they won't take it, and those contractors just pick and choose as need be.
Yeah.
And that seems to work out there for them too. They're just managing to sell that this is a better worker at prices. So,
and we don't necessarily just represent plumbers and pipe fitters on the commercial side. We have some representation down at the city water department. We have some representation with the gas department. Those workers are all negotiated at a different wage package, different group, different due structure as well for them. Some of them don't even pay dues, I don't think. Just because it's just the nature of their wage and their benefit. It's just, we understand that. So they pay a little bit, but not nearly what someone on a commercial level that I take care of. We've got some workers over at the University of Washington, some over at Seattle U. I think Seattle U, did they pull out?
I don't think so.
I thought it was, I don't know. It's not just a flat rate, here you go, it's based upon your wage scale and things like that, and the contract that you're working on. Shipyards, we've got guys down there in the shipyards. So we all pay a portion to have the representation that we have. Yeah.
So, this is probably a unions 101 thing. So you talked about right to work stuff, and I know a lot of libertarians might even be surprised that like, oh, why would a worker, and offended by the fact that a worker would go and get all the benefits of the union without actually paying to the union. But rather, I think a lot of libertarians would say, hey, let them go in and do their own negotiations, not have that apply to them. Is there a reason why that's not the case, or that doesn't end up being the case?
I just don't think we've ever had that happen through our doors.
You talking about like an individual member trying to negotiate his own deal with
Well,
the
no,
contractor?
so a non-union person, so say in like a right-to-work situation, the non-union person comes in and says, well, you know, the union guys are getting this, but I gotta negotiate my own. Is it an employment discrimination thing where it keeps the unions from gaining those benefits while other people are kind of on their own, or?
Well, as I understand it, and I'm far from really versed in it, my understanding is that if I was a non-represented plumber in a state that had right to work, I could go to the union and sign up as a union member and never give them a penny of dues, and then get all the benefits that they would get. I could still be a non-represented worker and negotiate my own deal out there separate from the union. So, you know, as a non-represented plumber, I could negotiate the best deal I could, or I could take the deal that the union negotiated and then not give them any benefit for negotiating it on my behalf.
So I find this interesting because I think
It's really not right.
I think a lot of libertarians would find offense with kind of both ends of the spectrum, with being forced to work, being forced to join a union.
Nobody's forced to join our union at all.
Yeah, or the union being forced to represent somebody. So I'm curious, because I think a lot of libertarians would say, hey, I want a middle ground where the union can do its thing, the people can do their own thing.
Well, that's how it is in our state right now,
Okay.
right? Our union contractors do their business and they hire our union guys, and there's a whole army of other plumbers out there that are negotiating their own wages. And,
Right.
And you know, it's just.
And it's not just
That makes
plumbers,
sense.
it's electricians, it's pipe welders, sheet metal workers. I mean, some people just don't want to be anywhere near the union, and a lot of it could be for whatever reason. They had a bad taste in it, their uncle was there and got kicked out, whatever the reason could be. And it's their wages, I would say, maybe not on the plumbing side, but more on my side. I'm a pipe fitter welder by trade. I think our wages tend to be a little more comparable. Mine's more of a specialized craft, which is pipe fitter, steam fitter. It's all comfort, process piping, fuel oils, natural gases, steam, heating water, cooling water for heating and cooling. More on the industrial side. Those, I don't know what they make on that side, but I would think it's more comparable just because of the nature of the work. Where plumbing, I mean, you could have a van and all your tools, and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be, you know, acting plumbing today, and that's the way we are. And by no means, there are individuals within our walls that if you're non-union, they want nothing to do with you. You know, you're the scourge. You're the reason that we have to go out and fight for what we have.
Big inflatable rats.
Yeah. I'm more the mindset, and if you want to be here, come. I'll gladly talk about it. It's been great for me. This is my experience behind it. If you don't want to be, I'm not going to force my view of my value on you because I choose to be union. To me, it's a choice. But that's just my point of view of it.
Are there plenty of places where a non-union plumber could find work?
Oh, yeah.
And so if I want, so if I'm a contractor, right, I get to choose. If I want to know that I've got the adequate level of training and qualification and, you know, accountability, then I could choose to hire a union. And if I want to save money on the front end and, you know, give up some of those benefits of hiring union labor, I could do that too.
You could. We've had actually, we have not just individuals that come down and join the union, we have full contractors. Contractors that have 40, 50-story buildings in the city of Seattle and Bellevue right now that have come down because, one, they need the workforce, two, they need the training. And that's the one thing maybe on, you can speak to this, on the non-union side, the training, it's, hey, I'm working with Howard today and he's gonna show me how to do copper pipe, and I'm gonna go over here and work with Bill and maybe I know how to do sewer pipe.
Yeah. So one of the things that's different in the state of Washington to other states is in the state of Oregon and Texas and a lot of other states, they have mandatory apprenticeships. So I decide I'm going to become a plumber. I go to the state, I get a trainee card. And within that, I have to get 2,000 hours to get a calendar year of supervision. I can become a journeyman plumber at 6,000 hours on a specialty license, or a full journeyman at 8,000 hours of supervision. So when you go out to work in that open shop world and you're running around, you may or may not get that day in and day out supervision. So one of the differences is our plumbers in our world get that supervision every day because they're working for our contractors, and our contractors will play by those rules because it's one of those agreements. And they will go to school and go through an improved apprenticeship where they are trained in a curriculum, right? When you go out to work in the open shop world, you better hope the guy who's driving the van wants to teach you today, because otherwise you're not learning, you're just doing one thing, right?
You can spend 8,000 hours just putting fire caulking, putting hangers on pipe or something like that, and then you go to take your test, and maybe you can fumble your way through the test, and then all of a sudden you're a journeyman licensed plumber, but you spent the bulk of your 8,000 hours just putting strap on pipe to support it underneath some wrappers. Oh, no. That's where our education comes in, where our contractors see that, and that's where we get contractors that come down and say, you can supply me with manpower, I can't find it, you can supply me with training, I don't have that. Yeah. And we go out there and work with that contractor. Some of them it takes 3-4 years of sitting down and talking. Some it was, you know, the father that owned the company, hell no, I'm never gonna sign up and be a signatory contractor. Well, the son takes over and goes, I've got to man this work, I need help. And comes down, has that conversation, that negotiation. Yeah, we're going to supply you with supervision, we're going to supply you with training, we're going to help the guys you have get up to the level you need them to be at to be a successful contractor.
So who do they talk to when the non-signatory contractor comes to the union?
They'll probably either talk to Howard, they'll talk to any one of our organizers, they may go straight to our business manager, who's the head of our union. And then if it's a contractor, they'll start to negotiate that whole process. If it's an individual, it might just be Howard they speak with. And they'll go through, and then
they would probably initially start with me, but at some point, they're always going to speak to the plumber's agents, the business manager, all of the office staff.
The wages and benefits are all already set.
Well, set.
Depending on the contract.
Depending on the contract you're going to work under. So we have what we call our master collective bargaining agreement, which covers the building and construction trades, which is all the high-rise stuff you see around town. You have your light commercial, residential, which is the 2-story concrete with a 5-story wood frame above it. That's more of our light commercial. We have a refrigeration appendix. We have a service plumber appendix, which is totally separate.
And we have a pure residential service.
Pure residential, yeah. I mean, there's the PSE negotiated contract, the Seattle negotiated contract, the shipyard contract. I mean, there's so many
mainline contracts.
Yeah, mainline pipeline contracts. There's so many contracts that fall within what we consider the master agreement. They're an appendix or they're own separate. So it just depends on where you fall within what scope of work you're doing. And you may come in as a residential plumber, and you put your time in down there, and you get your hours. We have a lot of our residential contractors that are doing that, like commercial work, and you guys are getting commercial hours for it. They're making the jump from the residential contract to the full building trades contract, and they're getting a huge bump in pay. And they're doing their time down here, getting their hours, and then they're just coming up into the building trades world.
Yeah, there's an analogy I use. It's like baseball. You got single A, double A, triple A, and you got the major leagues, and it really kind of works that way. That sometimes you just need to hone your craft and talk to triple A before you can go up to the big leagues.
And all of our journeymen are open and available to take any training course that we have down at our training center. It's not just apprentices. If there's training that we need, they will go find a way to get that class. If they have to outsource it, whatever they need to do to get our membership and training that they need, or that contractor, I need guys trained to do this, we'll figure out a way to get that done.
So one of the training that we're going after to try and get at our local is rainwater catchment. It's becoming a really big issue in a lot of areas of the San Juan Islands and Hood Canal. They're not allowing people to drill wells on Lopez Island anymore. Hood Canal, the water table there's been affected, so they're only getting brackish water out of it. So rainwater collection is a thing that's really not very known in our area, but we're striving to make that part of the curriculum that's available to plumbers. Because when we have our license, we have to take a certain number of continuing education hours over a 2-year period to keep our license. And so we're trying to introduce that this rainwater catchment be allowed to be part of that curriculum. So that way we can educate our members and the public and plumbers in general. And the other thing that I think is important for me in my relationship with this local is that it is really an inclusive place, and I relish the thought of talking to any unrepresented worker or any open shop owner to break down those stereotypes. And that's been, it wasn't ever spoken to me, but it was shown to me through all the people that are above me, that that's how they want to do their business, right? And so when you think, well, when I think about our union, I just think of it as being just built upon mutual respect on all the fronts, with all our contractors, all our workers, through our training, everybody we represent. It's all about mutual. I mean, our plumbers agent, a gentleman named Ed Holmes, is one of the smartest guys I ever would have hoped to work with. And he's just loving and compassionate, and he cares about the guys that works for him, and he gives guys second chances when they're needed. He gives them a stern hand when they need that as well. You know, but at the end, we're out for the industry, because one of the things that I say a lot is that when I talk to unrepresented workers, we're actually brothers in pipe, right? Because I don't do anything different than you do, right? We put pipe in houses, we build structures, that's what we do. I just do it under a different set of rules than you do it, and I maybe have a different set of training than you've had the opportunity to have. But what I have is not exclusively mine, you can't have it. We're out to share it with as many people that are qualified and want it, right?
So speaking of differences, you guys represent the plumbers and pipe fitters, and part of the kind of the spectrum of unions that have also talked about, especially in the context of the head tax being differentiated, are groups like the Teamsters and the SEIU. Can you guys talk a little bit about the structural differences there and kind of where that divergence happens?
Well, as far as like with the SEIU, I go back to the fact that I think that they're, my personal opinion again, they are union in name only, and they are 10 to 20 years behind the collective bargaining agreements of the other locals around here. You know, I know the Teamsters came out because it affects them as well. The building and construction trades unions, Teamsters included in that, are different in that sense from the SEIUs, the public service unions. All we have is our labor, and we recognize that balance with business. That we provide a service to business so that they can then make money. Our labor is our service, and we're compensated for that service. The business owner, the developer, they build their building, they make money. We come in, we service that, whether it's electricians or whatever, Teamsters, driving things to and from that. You know, again, the UFCW came out in support of the head tax. And again, I was a member, I worked at UFC for 5 years. It's a great job, entry-level job through high school. I'd say they're 10 to 20 years behind their collective bargaining agreements. They're behind the times, and that's just, I don't know if that's due to poor leadership or if that's just due to the fact that that's what the market bears for their collective bargaining agreements. You know, I don't know how you can pay a grocery worker $30 an hour and buy milk at, you know, $4.50 a gallon. It would be outrageous. I don't know.
So when you say behind, like what sort of aspects of the negotiating are you talking about there?
Their pensions, their retirements, their health and welfares. I don't even know where they're, I know when I left, I don't want to years ago. When I left, I didn't really understand the health and welfare side of the grocery industry, because for me, I was double covered at that point. I was like, well, I don't have a bill, great, you know, I'm still covered under my dad's and this one. Talking with people and families that have that, you know, they took a loss with some of the negotiated contracts this last however many times, you know, their pay freezes, give backs on their benefits for their health and welfare, retirement freezes, things of that nature. You're only allowed, I think it was, I'm vested in the UFCW Food Workers Union. but I'm stuck, I think my benefit's $12 a month from them. You know, I'm frozen now, after a certain amount of hours, this is my benefit, I'm frozen. Whereas ours keep growing, it doesn't matter, as long as you're vested in that union, whatever amount of hours you put into it, you're gonna get that benefit back out of it. I can't speak to much of the SEIU, just from my understanding, they're more of a numbers and belly button, and they want to be more of a political side of things.
I can see that.
Yes.
That was my union. I would say that they were more interested in promoting some kind of universal political agenda rather than adequately administering policing of the contract.
Yeah, and that's where we've stayed out of those issues. We stay out of the social issues. We only get involved when it affects the job side of it. And I think that's what the SEIU, they've got that big political agenda.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. You know, you're a shop steward, and the union doesn't show up to help you in a representation. You're on your own.
Yeah.
In fact, I can tell you funny stories. Where, the management will sit there and they'll actually, when you're first starting out, you're stabbing in the dark as to what, all about Weingarten rights and Garrity rights and so forth, and you're not really sure if you're on solid legal ground or not. But you just go ahead and stab at it as best you can, and quite often the management will say, have you coordinated this with your union or something? And funny story, there was another steward, I guess back east somewhere, that got that pulled on him, and kind of an older gentleman. When the management said that to him, accused him across the table of not having approved what he was presenting there at the table with the local down at the union office. And he excused himself to go down to the hallway to use the restroom, and the management assumed that he was going to go down there and get on the payphone and get to the local. When he came back, he had coming up out of the back of his pants a rolled out toilet paper. It went all the way down the hallway. And he's kind of a doggy old gentleman. The management kind of smirked and said to him, "Here, you're carrying toilet paper there. Let me break that off for you." He said, "Don't touch that. That's my line of communication back to the union office." That's kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that with some unions, that they are there strictly to collect your dues, and they're not going to represent you. We've had some of our international reps say some similar things to us, which is why we tend to handle our own business in-house here. We'll take it with our contractors groups, or we'll try to resolve things here versus take it to the international level. Our stewards on the job sites, we have quarterly steward meetings where they all get together once every 3 months, and they have their own meeting with our union of leadership. Things that are going on in the jobs, they bring up issues that they're having. Just get policy out, talk about things of that nature. Our stewards never make a call on the job site without talking to the union first. At least I never did in my time as a steward on the site. I'd always have my contract books with me. A lot of times we're not fighting the contractors on issues. We're fighting our own members that want to interpret our contract in their own fashion, or want to give a piece of work away that should be ours, or they're horse trading that they're not letting the steward know what's going on. So a lot of it, we're really not fighting our contractors. Our contractors want us to abide by the negotiated contract. They're, take your lunch when you're supposed to. Come in at start time, take your coffee break, take your lunch break, leave at quitting time. We have our own members that negotiate their own. They'll come in 2 hours early, to leave 2 hours early. They'll work through their lunch. They'll work through their breaks. Contractors don't want that because that opens them up for liability if something goes wrong, or all it takes is one person to go, hey, I didn't get my lunch today, you know, it stirs up a whole bunch of stuff there, or, you know, you don't inform your boss that you came in at 4 o'clock in the morning to leave at noon, and he shows up at 1:30, 2 o'clock looking for you, and you're not on the job site. They call up the union, all, you guys aren't even on the job site, what the heck's going on here? You know, we find that stuff out, we tend to crack down on that. We've had some interesting contracts negotiated outside of the contract. You know, as we always put it, you know, our contract is our contract, we need to abide by that. And a lot of times it's not our contractors that we have an issue with, it's our own membership, like I said. Just people that want to do their own thing. And again, that punishes all of us, and our contractors don't like that.
I think the issue a lot of people have with public employee unions is like, you started out by saying like, we stay out of social issues, we focus on the jobs, we focus on our workers and our industry. But, I mean, their job is, you know, if your industry is getting paid by government, right, then then they collect the dues and they give it to the politicians who are gonna create more work so they can hire more people. And it just creates this cycle where it's not even about, you know, quality of work or getting the work done, it's about, you know, hiring the politicians who are gonna create more jobs so you can collect more dues and keep that cycle going.
A lot of it's there. I look back years ago before I even got in the trade, going through college, you know, I was looking to be a cop. I was out at Shoreline going through the criminal justice program, and actually it was my grandfather who had set some funds up for all of his grandkids. Looked at me and said, if you pursue that avenue, I'm gonna cut your funding off. You know, kind of sent me through a tailspin there for a little bit, and I eventually found my way back to the trades, but, you know, I wouldn't want to be a cop in Seattle in today's society with just everything that's going on. They're understaffed, they're, you know, just the negative, everything that's out there with SPD, and just the way our city council, I mean, they're the enemy almost, and it's just, you know, I go back to sort of about the teacher, you know, that's the difference with us. If I don't perform, I lose my job. I don't get to go home and sit there and get paid while they figure out what to do with me. That's where the accountability is there in our work. It's not on the public side of it.
So I wonder, one thing that's been going around the state right now is people trying to get laws in different cities and counties and stuff, making negotiations between the government and public employees unions open. So the public can kind of see what's the back and forth, see the horse trading that's going on. What do you guys think about, you know, opening up negotiations between government and public unions? And I imagine the union doesn't have an official position on it, and why would you?
Ours would, and I mean, from a personal standpoint, that's a twofold question. I mean, as a taxpayer, you want to know, but at the same time, being union, it's like, well, I want to negotiate that on the private side. I think, and having gone through negotiations, we kept everything within a room, our boardroom, and nothing was agreed to until everything was agreed to. And the rumors that were flying outside of it, I couldn't even speak to. I couldn't quash them. I couldn't acknowledge them. I think having it open to so many eyes and ears may create more of a difficulty to come together on a collective bargaining agreement. That may create some animosity, some issues, because you're going on a public side of it, open it up to the public. You're going to have the news media outlets in there. You're going to have all over social media. There's going to be so many things floating around. It may create difficulty with actually negotiating a contract at that point in time. I don't know, but that's some of the issues I could see that would come from something like that. But then again, I go to the taxpayer side. Well, I kind of want to know what's going on here and where is it going. What do you know? What is the disciplinary action here if you know they're not doing their job? Do they get 6 months administrative leave, or is it, hey, you know, you're just done? That's a good question. I don't know what are your thoughts on that?
I'm still too new in this leadership role to really speak to it. You know, having only had experience with a labor union, I really can't speak to it.
Yeah, I would just just from having sat through negotiations, just, you need to have that trust and that cohesiveness within that boardroom, even though you may be sitting this far away from the other party, and you guys are as right as these chairs at each other, but at the end of the day, when the ink's dry, you've all come back together. I mean, we had some instances where, I mean, it got heated, you know, and on both sides, but it's all part of the politics of it. It's posturing, it's a chess match, but I could see where having it open and a lot of eyes and a lot of ears and a lot of voices could create that issue with negotiating a contract, or at least getting something done in that sense. But yeah, that'd be my official, unofficial response to it.
And yet, in the public sector sphere, there are times that the employee does need good, assertive representation.
Go ahead.
I don't know, I've always felt that the principle of concerted activity flows from the Bill of Rights, and using that as the basis, I think that there's a certain amount of labor law that does make sense.
A lot of it was drugged out of safety.
Yeah.
A lot of it came from
Yes.
40-hour work weeks.
That's right, yeah. If you go all the way back to the National Labor Relations Act, 1936, trace it forward from there, you can see where there was principled motivation behind
Yeah.
some of it.
Some of it there is antiquated, but a lot of it's there for good purpose.
Yeah.
I think it does. I personally think it does more good than it does harm.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a conversation we were having earlier. I think start looking at zoning issues and things like that, and you can handle more on a local level and start changing it that way, and versus attacking the labor laws. I think more of it would be within the zoning and things like that. You know, the electrical code, the plumbing code, they're there for safety. Those, I don't know if they're really going to get changed on that level. Again, it goes back to a safety thing, public safety, public health. I don't know if anybody's traveled overseas. I saw, it just still to this day cracks me up. I was in Athens here in 2001 in a hotel, a little triangle courtyard kind of in the middle of this hotel, and I looked out the window in the bathroom. You can see all the waste pipes down the inside of this courtyard. And it was cast iron, it was electrical PVC conduit, it was the white plastic PVC, it was the black plastic ABS, all hodgepodge together. It was anything that could convey water to get it out. Totally against code, but it's just one of those things I look back and go, okay, that would never fly back here because it's code and regulation and safety that we all have. You know, there's the saying, the public protects the health of the nation. So it still to this day cracks me up, just that right there. It's, you know, is it conduit or is it waste pipe? I don't know.
So what are your most, we're talking a little bit about kind of the regulation aspect of it. What are the things that you think get most in the way? I know when we're talking about building, I hear permitting come a lot. What do you think the things that are most ripe for improvement?
Streamlining zoning and permitting, especially in this town. I know a lot of general contractors, just, you know, the one-man band general contractors, or guys that have 3 or 4 employees working for them, trying to go through a permit process with the city, try to get a street use permit, try to get, you know, electrical to come out and inspect something, or plumber inspector to come out. And I know that they've had difficulty in issue with that, or even plan review, which I don't know how you said there's starting to do more and more of that now. It's almost like a money grab around here with the zoning and the permitting.
It's almost like a money grab.
Really effectively do is just pay for your permit, pay for the zone that you can, and outside of that, that's going to cost you $100,000 to extend that sewer. You know, I think there's a lot of things the city could do with some of that. We could find more ways to get affordable housing. I don't know, where's some of your big constraints do you think on that side?
You know, I think that the permitting process is part of it, but it's a double-edged sword. I mean, some of the restrictions that are there are really valid for having them there. But I know that small builders can be put at a disadvantage on the whole permitting process versus big developers that do a lot of work, right? They can get put to the back table over there, and their permits can sit for a long time before they get through.
Yeah, I would think, you know, Martin Selig's permit would push through a lot faster than, you know,
And Matt Dubin's permit.
yeah. So I think it does come down to influence and whatnot. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, considering that the Seattle City Council repealed the employment tax yesterday, what do you think should be our next step? What's our move forward?
Homelessness?
Well, we had a good head of steam up there, you know, gathering up those signatures, and
We could elect TJ to the city council.
suddenly.
I do live in O'Brien's district.
So are you asking if we were a genie, what would you guys wish for from us?
Well, I'm just wondering, you know, how do we not lose
The
what we-
momentum, right?
Yeah, the momentum that we.
That's a good question. I talked with a good friend of mine who was on the forefront with the no-head tax, and she actually led me to SOS and whatnot. And, you know, that's kind of the collective question that everybody has now is, okay, what do we do? What's the answer? What are the ideas to move forward to get people off the street, to get assistance to people that need it, to help people find jobs, to get people, you know, the mental help they need, whatever. What are the next steps? And then there's the next question is, okay, there's that, but then we gotta keep the hammer down on the city council and you know, make sure that we get them out and get people in there that actually wanna be, to fix the problem. That's a tough question, it really is, but I think a lot of it's gonna take good collective effort from citizens, from politicians, from labor side of it, from the social workers out there, from the people in the shelters, from, you know, the men's shelters, the women's shelters. What do we collectively want to do? What's the right thing to do versus just here's an idea that we're just going to attack big business? You know, you see, you know, what Amazon does with Mary's Place. You see what Dick's does with Mary's Place. I mean, they're philanthropy in their own mind and their own right. I don't think that you should force them to be charitable. Let them be charitable on their own. But then what can we do as community and as group to move forward with that? I know, like I said, there's a shortfall of labor in the city right now for construction jobs that those that are able-bodied and want to. I mean, I'm sure they start there, and that's one of the toughest things. Though, is an address, and you know, where do I go? What do I do? You know, and that's the big question: is where do we go from here? How do we keep the momentum churning?
It seems to me that what we should be pushing back against, and I think the signature gathering was a start of this, and that is pushing back against this mindset that there is this entrenched political class that was going more and more and more to the left, more and more progressive, more and more, you know, government can do everything, and with us in charge of it, and you just have to collect more money, that's all. It's that attitude that I think is the enemy that we should be pushing back against.
I agree. The trust is gone, I think, with the voter.
Right.
The trust is not there. The accountability is not there for the politician.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
And that's where a lot of, I mean, we as an organization donated to Mosqueda, and a couple others on the council, and it's basically been said by our political action group, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, they shot us in the foot, we're done. And they're gonna come back and, hey, will you donate? No, because of what you did here. And it wasn't the fact that, again, I'm sure a lot of people in this room, it wasn't it wasn't an us against the homeless, that's the wrong thing. The city council was doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They were just reaching for more money into the taxpayers' wallets,
Yeah.
and it wasn't going to fix
empower.
anything.
Yeah, to
Well, it wasn't
empower
even the
themselves.
taxpayers' wallets.
It wasn't, but it would have been eventually, because it would have cost a job, and it would have cost a family wage living, and, you know, rents are what they are, but you start all of a sudden now, hey, I had a 2-year job in Seattle that's now gone because of this head tax, and it was Amazon today, is it Expedia tomorrow? What advantage does Expedia have to move in on the waterfront down there if that head tax leaves? You know, where's the next business that they go after? It was Boeing years ago, you know, Microsoft staying over in Redmond right now, it seems like. I wouldn't be surprised if they start pulling out of Seattle next and leave empty office space down here.
Now, there is some interest on the state level. You know, Senator Schessler is, and Representative Murray are pushing action in the legislature to I think just ban employment taxes, I think.
I don't think it works. I think Chicago was a pretty good example of that, and they repealed it there, and with the job loss they had back there. You know, I think a regional approach to the issue within the county is probably a better aspect than Seattle trying to go it alone.
Yeah.
I don't, certainly in Seattle, I think the taxpayers and homeowners are tired of being taxed, and I've had a conversation with my dad and a couple of his buddies when we go to breakfast every Saturday. You know, a lot of them are almost $1,000 a month of property taxes, paying rent back to a city that they've owned a home for 40 years in.
Yeah.
You know, it's, the city's driving a lot of people out because they're getting taxed out of their homes. You're retired for so many years and you're spending $1,000 a month out of your retirement,
Yep.
paying property taxes
Yep.
back to the city.
Yeah.
You can't downsize and stay in the city because there's no place to go.
No, I mean, my folks are on Sunset Hill. You know, they've been there since '73. They bought the house for $23,000. They're probably listed for $1.3 eventually.
Yeah. And I think that all gets,
$895 gets you a tear down in Ballard now.
and I think that all gets back to this rising, out of control, rising cost of government
I would
in
agree
this
with that.
city.
You know,
I think that's the enemy. That's what we need to push back against.
I don't know anybody that, I do know people that work for Amazon, but they're there by choice. I hear that they're overworked and underpaid. I don't know if that's because if they start bringing it down by the salary side, I'm not sure, but, you know, but then you hear stories about a 24-year-old graduate offered $95,000 a year to start there and $25,000 signing bonus after 2 years, and then the salary goes to $130,000 after that. At 24, 25 years old. Great, that's awesome, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think that's underpaid at 24 years old.
Yeah, but in the city it is.
So you talked
Yeah.
So you talked about the idea of trying to help the homelessness problem by taking the homeless, those who are able-bodied, and moving them into apprenticeships. What is the missing piece there why that's not happening right now?
Well, so I don't know that it's really that easy just to put them into apprenticeship, okay? And I can just speak to our apprenticeship. Our apprentices have a level of math skills that they have to have. And so to just say, you're homeless, here, we're gonna get you into our apprenticeship, just would not work for our training coordinator. So that's not to speak that there isn't some type of training or apprenticeship that they could do. But I'm just gonna speak for my local, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a very difficult thing to do. Our apprenticeship, we had 270 applicants for 30 jobs our last interviews, right? These are people, the average age was 28. So we have a struggle to get good applicants, but not really, right?
But I think on a city level, with all the jobs that are out there, and the apprenticeships that are out there, the city, I think that's where you could partner with the city in that sense, and you could identify, okay, this individual is a prime candidate, but he needs, or she needs, help with their math skills. Okay, let's get their math skills up to the level where they need to pass the entrance level exam. Do they need to get their GED? Do they need to get, you know, the ACT test for shoreline taken care of? Let's help them there and help them down that path to find that. Maybe, and it might not be a plumber job. Maybe it's a carpentry job. Maybe it's an iron worker job. But it's a good family wage skill. You might find someone out there that can start filling tech jobs. It's helping getting that exposure, which I really feel goes back to when the city pulled the wood shop, the metal shop, and the auto shop out of the high schools. You took exposure to skill sets that can provide a good family wage job out of a high school. Then they started pushing the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math, and it's almost like that blue-collar construction job, it's ew, it's gross. And I get it, my kids, I don't want them to follow my footsteps, I want them to go get the best job they can. But at the same time, I balanced community college and I wasn't sure where I was gonna go. I like working with my hands, and I think if you can identify that and get kids exposure at an earlier age to the fact that I don't have to pursue a business degree. I can go out here and I can be an electrician, I can be an iron worker, I can be a plumber, and I can make $100 grand a year. They have that exposure, you know, the technical college level, high school level. It's helping them earlier on. And I talked with a dad who said that there were parents, and I can't remember the school district, they didn't want them there. They didn't want them in the school, the high school. It was down in Kennedy. They didn't want them in the high school teaching, you know, opening kids' eyes to the fact that, hey, you know, maybe you're not cut out for college. Here's an opportunity for you. Parents ran them out of it. We don't want you down here. We're pushing college degrees on the kids.
And it's crazy because, you know, you've got all these 4-year college graduates with, you know, 100,000 in debt, you know, working as baristas at Starbucks.
My daughter's 19 and she's gonna go to start Gino Rez in the fall. Her mom and I have some cash put aside for her. She's gonna put a little bit into it because I told her, I said, you have to have an investment into this. You know, I'm not just gonna write the check for you. And it took her a year to get her butt in gear to figure out what she wanted to do, but she had to do it on her own and she did it. But giving an opportunity and an avenue to younger generations that they don't have to push that degree. I got friends of mine that just were paying off their college debt here a couple of years ago. I've been making $100 grand a year for 10 years, you know, and you're just paying off that money. It's tough, and it's like, that's a whole nother conversation, the cost of education, what do we do there? You know, I don't want to saddle my kids with that burden, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's tough. It's tough when you're making $16 an hour as a barista when you have a 4-year college degree and you've got 100 grand in college debt. My sister's got a degree from Seattle U that she's never used, but she's got grants and FAFSA that she has to pay back. Yeah.
So you talked about, so to follow up my question on kind of how do you bridge things there, at what point, so right now you guys are saying you have a lot of applicants, but you have a shortage of people who are up to the standards you need there. So there's a bridge there, and you can talk to the government to say, government, can you kind of fund some stuff to help here?
I think it'd be a way to do it, yeah.
Is there a point at which the union itself sees enough financial benefit to say partner or even fully subsidize that sort of like, hey, I've got 200 applicants here, they're not up to the level I need, but maybe I'm starting to offer scholarships and I'm working with the state to secure that, or like is there that openness to partnerships?
That's a question that, for lack of a better phrase, is above my pay grade.
Right.
I think that would take an involvement with the contractors as well, not just the union itself. Because as our training is, it's contractor and union.
I'm curious if there's any national precedent or anywhere where
I haven't seen any, no. I mean, because there is a shortfall of workers across the country for construction trades jobs, not just plumbers and pipefitters. That's a good question. It could be an avenue that's there. But again, like I said, my apprenticeship, my out-of-pocket expenses, I think there's $1,000 for books. That was it. You know, and I know that some of that, there's ways that can get worked around to pay it back over time. That might be a good avenue to look at it at a national level, but I think it's going to take contractor involvement as well to have that, as well as maybe state, county, city work as well to bring back some of that training, some of that exposure to show kids and young adults that there's a different path. That, you know, maybe technology is not your avenue, maybe law isn't, but you know, here I'll make a great career.
So within our office, I've been given the freedom to pretty much go and do outreach anywhere I can. And so I'm on the Highland School District's one of their advisory councils, and I go to all their job fairs, and I'm in their skills center and I've been down to Pierce County Skill Center for their career days. And I go out there and I talk to young people any chance I can. Again, knowing that they're not going to be immediate applicants for my labor pool that I need, but just to plant the seed to give them that opportunity. And also, we reach out to anywhere we can, as far as high schools and anywhere where we have a community workforce agreements, we'd like to be seen there, so that we can tell the students in those areas where we're getting our work that there is a pathway to work for us within what you're doing right now.
So to play a little bit of hardball here, because we're working with politicians and I like to come to candidates and talk about policy proposals here, I ask on one thing, like what do you need to take the people, because you talk about the homeless and how we can use the homeless here, but then I hear the pivot to, well, we're just gonna go after the young people here.
Well,
How do I present that as a position if I'm a politician without feeling like, oh, I just got pivoted the other way?
well, I mean, I'm not really pivoting that way because our average age is 20, so I'm not going to
Right.
people. I'm just broadcasting seeds, right? I'm Johnny Appleseed, and I'm casting them to the wind, and hopefully something that I say may strike them at some point in time, well, they'll get a career in the trades, right? Maybe not a union job in the trade, but just within the trades, because the trades have been really good to me for my entire working career. As far as, you know, how you tell politicians that's, again, I'm gonna use TJ's line, that's kind of my pay grade.
You know, I may have misspoke too when I was referencing just the high school side of it. You know, on the older generation side, that, you know, older people, whatever. You know, I think it's going out and reaching out and does someone that's homeless, living on the street, doesn't have a job, wants to work, wants to get back into the workforce. What's your skill set? You know, what did you do? What can you do? Or what do you want to do? Identifying them. You know, they might not be a plumber. Maybe they're a laborer. You know, maybe they get into it as a general laborer, and then they spend some time there, and then they end up moving over to the carpenter or something like that.
I think TJ may have hit the mark there, identifying what they want to do, what they want to do. Because there is, in everything that I've found in my life, there is personal accountability. And if a person doesn't want to do that, you can push him all you want. I mean, I have a 24-year-old son. I can push him all I want. He's not going where I want him to go. You know, so
That's my daughter.
once he knows what he wants to do, then he'll go there. Again, as far as people who are homeless, you have to identify the many varying degrees of why they're in their position, and why they would choose to stay there if they were given opportunities to change that position, right? And identify if they want to. I mean, I heard this gentleman talking earlier about, you know, that there's a conscious choice to be in that position, that just for many different reasons.
There are days I'd love to head off to Loomis and live out in the woods, away from everybody.
I think that the key concept there, I think, is opportunity. And
Creating opportunities.
That's what brought me out against this head tax, was the, you know, tax is a disincentive
Right.
on the creation of jobs. And in other words, it's a disincentive to create opportunity. And anything that's a disincentive to opportunity is the last thing in the world that's going to help the homelessness situation.
I think we can identify opportunities and put those out there for individuals and help assist them. You know, I know, and at some point in time, like Howard said,
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it. Really, you know, there's some red tape that needs to be cleared away, like all this zoning. You know, how you get a street permit and how you know, all this kind of stuff. It seems to me that you know, the libertarian philosophy can come into play here, and just say, you know, the less government involvement in the economy, the better for the homeless.
or the proper involvement maybe, and maybe the proper involvement would be helping assist with finding those opportunities, identifying those opportunities. I mean, like I said, at some point, the individual has to have some accountability for what they want to do.
That's true.
And if, you know, and I've heard there's individuals out here in the city that are living in their cars, that are tech workers, they just can't afford homes and whatnot, or they can't find a job in that industry. You know, I come from the upbringing, you know, sometimes maybe you just gotta look yourself in the mirror and go, you know, I gotta make a career change. And it might, maybe that's time to, it is, we gotta identify a career change here and get you going a different direction, if that's even an a possibility. But again, maybe that's one of those opportunities that's there, is finding and helping and assisting. Let's get.
But I think we've built up such a regulatory environment too, that sometimes it's not always easy to transition,
I think so, I agree.
you know, from one.
I agree.
But that also comes with more people willing to step up and run for office. I'm not from Seattle, but, you know, I've chose to run for Washington State Senate this year.
Catch your name before we leave. Here's mine.
There.
Oh, okay,
Here's my
excellent.
card. But, you know, so I'm not familiar, but I know the last city council race in Seattle, there was, you know, I don't even know how many candidates that, you know, but how many of them were Libertarian, how many of them were Republican? They were probably all, you know, Democrat or shades of, you know, so I can't speak to that. You know, you have to be people willing to step up, you know, Matt and Sydney have stepped up also, you know, for Magnolia and, you know, Ballard and things like that. But that doesn't represent Seattle per se, but you can affect change at the, you know, the state level that way. It's, you know, I know I'm in a heated race in the district I'm at. I, you know, found out, you know, they're predicting to be $1 million race. So I'm like, what did I jump into? But I'm still getting my voice out there. I'm gonna talk to people and, you know, try to spread a message of smaller government and less regulations.
Hey, on that note, we're at about 9 o'clock, so we can stick around and talk for a while, but I wanted to thank our guests for coming along and
Thank you.
talking to us. This has been awesome.
Thank
Everybody, a round of applause for them.